Hi everyone, and welcome to our ME911 webcast called Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by the Need Company. I'm Goldie with ME911, a company that offers peace of mind for families like yours in case of an emergency. Our goal here today with this particular webcast is to help you get started. We've noticed that although everyone agrees preparing is important, not many of us have actually gotten down to doing it. Why? Some say it's because they don't have the time. For others, it's I'll get to it when it actually happens. Or I'm not sure where to begin. Or I don't know how much work it involves. So, just the fact that you and I are here today, that just means one thing, that you have taken your first step and you are ready to embark on your preparedness journey. With that, let's begin with a few actionable items that are easy to do with simple steps for you to take on your preparedness project. Step 1. Digitize your vital emergency documents. Although you may have your paperwork neatly stashed away in a drawer somewhere, scanning and storing digital copies means you can access that information anytime, anywhere, during or after a crisis. Now that makes all the difference, especially when you're away from home and you need access to that information. Take advantage of the Need Company products, like the Need Desk shown here. That easily scans all of your vital paperwork and even organizes it on your computer. You could label the folder Emergency Documents, for instance. Now, once you've scanned these documents, you can also store the digital copies securely online with us at me911.com. Here's a screenshot of what your virtual locker would look like, where you would store the documents. So if you're away from your personal computer, you can still retrieve all of them by logging on to me911.com. You could also use USB drives, for instance, if you would like a portable method of carrying your digital documents. Now for the originals, you want to keep them in a grab-and-go box that's very portable, as shown here. Go a step further to ensure that it's damage-proof and preferably resistant to water or fire. Now, depending on your budget, you could also purchase a fire-safe box like the ones shown here. You could either get them online or even at your local retail stores. Or you could even opt to store them in a safe deposit box at a bank, for instance. Here's a checklist of what to back up and keep safe. If you have children and pets, please include those relevant documents as well. So your personal documents would include certificates like birth certificates or adoption records, licenses like driver's licenses and marriage licenses, passports and any copies of visas, your wills and deeds, insurance policies for your home, your car, or if you're renting, even your agreements, whether it's relative again to the home or your car or an apartment, or even a personal loan that you might have taken from the bank. You also want to have your property and auto records like titles and leases, deeds, registrations, and even repairs. You want to also keep your tax returns, both federal and state. And the reason why is because the IRS recommends that you at least keep it for up to 3 years prior. You also want to store any death certificates or any other legal contracts that you've collected over time. Any government-issued IDs like your Social Security card and others. Important family photos, especially of ones with you and your entire family together. Photos of your home or your car for as long as you own them. Now, if you have children, you also want to add their school IDs, any other records, a fingerprinting profile if you have one. Or if you have pets, you also want to add any of the personal documents relative to them. The next two categories of documents that you would want to include are health-related and any financial documents. Now, under your health-related documents, you would want to include health insurance policies and cards for yourself and each of your family members, any life or disability insurance policies and cards, medical records for each family member, whether it's vaccinations, prescriptions, x-rays, test results, past health conditions, doctor visits, etc. You also want to include emergency contact information of family and friends that you would want to reach in case of an emergency. You want to include their full name, phone, email, and address. Now, your financial documents would include credit card copies, front and back, any list of bank accounts and opening statements that you might have, any financial investments, which would include stock certificates, records, any purchase or sales records, account numbers, etc. In terms of loans, you would want to include ones for your home, your car, apartment, or personal ones that you might have. Any retirement or pension account numbers, any records of paid mortgages, precious jewelry documentation or valuation, and even your employment records. Under that section, you would want to include pay stubs, benefits, agreements, stock, and any other items that relate to your employment. We also suggest letting someone you trust, like a family member, a close friend, or a professional advisor, know where you've stored all of these copies and originals. With the holiday season around the corner, we wanted to help you have a safe trip. Now, I know it's something you don't want to think of when you're traveling, but what if you lost your cell phone with all of your contacts, or you just realized that you misplaced your wallet, or even your passport for that matter? Now, instead of enjoying yourself on the trip, you're probably stressed. So here is a quick checklist of travel documents for you to digitize and keep safe before you buy those 3-ounce bottles of shampoo or start packing. Your list here would include driver's license, passport and visa if it's international travel, your airline ticket and hotel reservation, your insurance policy and card, your credit card copies, a recent family photo that specifically shows you together with your family, photos of your luggage, because more often than not, there is a possibility that it could be lost or misplaced. Cell phone contact list of all of your prescriptions and medications if you take any, and any government-issued IDs. Why, you ask? Now, the U.S. Department of State recommends that you keep copies of your passport identification page and your driver's license. So if it's lost or stolen, you can provide it to the U.S. Embassy. It makes getting a passport much easier since your citizenship and identity information would be readily available to them. Now, here are a few tips if you're traveling with children. You can have them carry a personal ID with your contact information on it if they're too young to remember a phone number. Now, an ID helps in case they get separated from you and are found by a good Samaritan. ME911 has what's called the ME911 ID wristband, which could have your contact information on there and a 24/7 helpline to call in case of an emergency. The next point would be to carry a recent photo of you with your child. Why? In an emergency, remembering every detail can be emotional. Having a photo on hand helps save time. Now, if you have a camera phone, you can also take a picture every day on the trip. When you're traveling with pets, you want to carry a copy of your pet's vaccination and health records, just in case your pet faces a medical emergency and you are required to show proof of immunization or even share health history. You also want to carry a recent photo of you with your pet for identification and even as proof of ownership. When you're traveling with valuables, for instance, an expensive digital camera or a computer, you would want to keep a copy of the invoice or even any insurance papers to prove that you're the one that owns them, just in case they get lost, stolen, or misplaced on your trip. You also would want to carry proof of warranty if you're worried that these items might run into problems, so you can use the listed service facilities to fix it. Now, scanning and storing digital copies means you can personally retrieve them instead of having your friends or your family rifle through your drawers at home looking for them while you're stuck on your trip. So now that you've squared away digitizing your vital documents, let's move on to Step 2. Step 2. Create a family emergency communications plan. The goal when creating a unique family plan is that you actually decide all of the details together, like a family. So you sit down together and discuss where you would meet, how you would stay in contact, and what you would do in case of an emergency. Here are the details that should make up your unique family plan. Number 1, list 1 or 2 out-of-town contacts. Now, this person could either be a family member or a friend. And make sure that you have their full name, their phone numbers, emails, and even the addresses of where they live and work. Second, you need to choose a neighborhood meeting place that you recognize as a family. Now, this could be a local park or any local landmarks that you recognize as a family or have been to together. Number 3, in an emergency, that particular place could become inaccessible. So as backup, you want to pick another neighborhood meeting place that is out of town. And you also want to pick another out-of-town meeting place that you and your family would recognize. Lastly, you want to keep a record of your family's list of emergency contacts, their names, their phone numbers, their emails, and even their addresses that you might require in case of an emergency. We highly recommend that you digitize and distribute copies of your unique family plan with all of your loved ones so that it's readily accessible whenever needed in an emergency. Now that you've got creating a family emergency plan squared away, let's move on to step 3. Step 3. Put together an emergency kit. The goal with your emergency kit is to have basic supplies on hand in order to survive for at least 3 days if a natural disaster occurs. Now you can either buy ready-made kits like the ones that you have at Red Cross or even your local Costco, or you could put together a personalized kit that meets your family's unique needs and even geographical location. You also need to consider carrying at least 2 kits, one full one at home and a smaller portable one for your car or even your workplace. Now, the basic items that every emergency supply kit should include are water, 1 gallon of water per day per person for drinking and sanitation. Food, you at least want a 3-day supply of non-perishable food, a can opener, paper cups, plates, plastic utensils, and even paper towels. You also need a battery-powered or a hand-crank radio and extra batteries for both. You could purchase these separately also on the Red Cross store. You also want to keep a flashlight with extra batteries. Especially important is a first aid kit. The other thing you would need to keep are your important family documents, which we covered in step 1. You also want to have a whistle to signal for help. You need a dust mask to help filter contaminated air, and plastic sheeting and duct tape to shelter in place. Then there's moist towelettes, garbage bags, plastic ties that you might need for personal sanitation. You would also want to keep a wrench or pliers on hand to turn off any utilities. You also want to have any local maps and emergency reference materials on hand, such as a first aid book or what to do in case of an emergency. You also want to keep cash and change in the event that ATM machines don't work. Then you want to have a sleeping bag with warm blankets for each family member. You also want to carry a complete change of clothing, which would probably include a long-sleeve shirt, long pants, and definitely sturdy shoes. Now, oftentimes in state of panic, some are likely to forget the location of their emergency kit. So make sure that you digitize this entire checklist and then also put in the item location for quick access. With that, we've reached the end of our webcast, which in fact is just the beginning for you on your preparedness project. For now, this all may just seem like information, but trust me, once you get it done, it will mean peace of mind for you and your loved ones. Thank you very much for joining us today, And here's to you leaving nothing to chance.